On the morning of December 26, 2004, a massive rupture along the seafloor off the coast of Sumatra displaced billions of tons of water, sending a wall of energy hurtling toward the shore and leaving behind shattered coastlines. The resulting waves caught communities entirely off guard. By the time the water finally retreated, hundreds of thousands of people across the Indian Ocean had lost their lives. This map tracks the disaster's geography. Here is the earthquake's epicenter. Sitting a mere few dozen miles away is the Indonesian island of Simeulue. Due to its exact coordinates, Simeulue was the first obstacle, absorbing the maximum kinetic force of the displaced ocean. According to every scientific and geographic metric available, the water should have wiped out the island's entire population. On that Sunday morning, exactly 75,000 people were living on Simeulue. This chart visualizes the human cost on the island after the disaster struck. Out of a population of 75,000, only 7 individuals lost their lives. The incredibly low casualty rate occurred even though the waves struck with absolute ferocity, sweeping away buildings and collapsing heavily packed neighborhoods. How did an isolated community directly in the crosshairs of a historic natural disaster manage to walk away almost entirely unscathed? This massive statistical gap suggests a unique factor was at play on the island, something that allowed tens of thousands of people to act in unison before the water arrived. When the earthquake hit, the ground beneath the villagers' feet shook violently for several continuous minutes. Shortly after the tremors stopped, the ocean rapidly pulled backward from the shoreline, suddenly exposing vast stretches of bare sand and coral. Across other parts of the Indian Ocean that day, this strange sight drew curious onlookers out onto the exposed seabed to investigate. The residents of Simeulue looked at the exact same receding tide and recognized it as an immediate, deadly omen. People began shouting a specific word, Smong. Within seconds, families grabbed their bicycles, loaded up their motorbikes, and fled straight for higher ground. There was no confusion. The islanders were executing a perfectly designed collective survival protocol. The origins of this response trace back nearly a century to a specific day in 1907. That year, a massive tsunami decimated the island. The immense loss of life left a deep, enduring trauma on the surviving generation. Those survivors pieced together the sequence of events. They noted that a severe earthquake was followed immediately by a receding tide, which then brought the catastrophic waves. They needed a way to preserve this meteorological data. They encoded these exact warning signs into local stories, songs, and lullabies. They called this oral tradition the Smong, and they passed it down rigorously to every new generation. The Smong functioned as a highly accurate, community-engineered early warning system, built directly from the tragedy of the past. When the water rushed back toward Simeulue in 2004, the waves struck with towering force. The massive volume of water swept through the coastal towns, leveling homes and erasing streets that had been completely emptied just minutes before. High up in the hills, the residents watched the destruction. They lost their houses and their modern possessions, but they kept their lives. When the ocean finally settled, a strategy born from the grief of 1907 had kept 99.9% of the population alive. Across the ocean that day, modern technological warning systems, like seismic sensors and deepwater buoys, largely failed to notify coastal populations, or were simply absent altogether. The Smong protocol bypassed all of those vulnerabilities. It required no electricity, relied on no central authority, and deployed instantly the moment the ground stopped shaking. Today, the coastline of Simeulue is rebuilt and thriving. The homes and mosques stand intact, populated by the families who survived. High-tech sensors were blind to the 2004 surge, but Simeule's resilience relied on a different foundation, a commitment to reading the landscape and trusting the memories of those who came before.